Hey, Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all the socials. It's Nat. Welcome to my world with Nat, Relocation Concierge. I have a special guest today. I can't wait for her to hop in and come and join me online, share all the things, the good, the bad, and the what the moments that we've all lived since we've been here. There she is. Okay. So Jordanna, you're going to send a request view. Go.
Hey, Maxine. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's beautiful weather.
You almost
so
look like you're here with that greenery behind you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Adjusting back to, Canadian living after 6 months of DR living.
Oh my gosh, tell me all the things. I was like, what title am I going to create for this? And I'm like, the good, the bad, and the what the just seems so appropriate.
So appropriate.
So
appropriate.
Today I sort of want you and I to share, what it was like, the choice to come and do this, what you loved about it, what maybe you loved less about it. Because I think the audience is appreciating that kind of real and raw and because it's not always rainbows and Skittles, as I say. So you guys decided to do this last summer or last fall, I guess.
Last fall, yeah.
And was it, I guess, I never really asked this question, but was it motivated by anything in particular, or is it just that you wanted to try something new?
I was definitely motivated. Motivated, inspired, influenced, all the things. In good ways. And I think for a moment there, I got really sucked into the negative outlook of how everything turned out because I was living in it and it was really heavy and not what I was expecting. So there was definitely some negative projection that went on. But now after being home and having that, the rose sunglasses are off and I can really just kind of sit back and look at things from a different lens. It's really been helpful.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we were motivated to go because we're in Québec, in Montreal, in Canada. And it happens that, here has had some of the stronger restrictions and extreme measures among society for thou shall not be named. And Voldemort. And sounds like I have a little trying to open the door. Mommy's on the Okay, I did put on lipstick. Okay, well, mommy, sorry, hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't like my kids on social media. Avery, can you get out of my room? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Sophie. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Expose my kids to social media. So, so a lot of the political environment was mainly the political environment was a big thing. And then winter, we just moved to the country. We really wanted to live in the country. We're very excited to be, out of Montreal and away from the city. But it's 5 degrees colder. And I was just mentally no, not sure I really want to go down, and live this freezing cold winter on top of lockdowns and curfews and all the measurements. To me, that was really not an environment where I felt like I could be my best self and I can really thrive and have all the things I need. So Annie's my business partner. She's the co-founder of Mother's Mary. So she had always talked about for a really long time, more than a year, about living abroad and traveling and, just backpacking and experiencing the world. And I was like, I'll never forget it. I literally looked at her and I was just like, have fun with that. I'm not, oh my God, enjoy, kudos to you, good luck, have fun.
Love you, but
go for it. But then that's it. The things things in Canada really started to heighten. And I definitely, for myself, I can't speak on Annie's part, but for me, a lot of the things that were going on politically and knowing that there was a Canadian community out there in the Dominican, and people were fleeing the North, like fleeing this environment to go live in a better environment. Like, my decision to leave Canada was definitely fear influenced, you know, like I was fearful of what was coming. I was fearful of not being able to thrive in this environment despite all no matter what your mindset is, right? Like at the time, this was my mindset.
And I think that's one of the things, like when I'm meeting people now and they want to do this, I try and I ask them, you know, what is the motivation behind it? Because it will impact the mindset of the arrival. Because if you arrive with that sense of fleeing, you sort of hang on to that because you're still sort of 1 foot there and 1 foot here. So I sort of coach them to, you know, you are embracing change. So let's go with the change aspect. But I can completely empathize with what that would look like.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was going to say it's not just like having the 1 foot here and the 1 foot there that is fear-based. It's also like if you're going to the Dominican to like test things out to see, like that's what we did. We were like, we just bought our property here in the country. We lived in our home for about 4 months before we decided to go off to the Dominican. When we bought our home, we did not think we were leaving. October. We moved in here July 19th. We were out of here October 28th. We did not.
We had just renewed our mortgage when we sold our house. So I get it.
It was intense. But the other thing is what was hard, particularly for me, because again, I can only really speak on my experience, was we went to the Dominican for 6 months. We had booked our 6 months ticket. We knew we were going to be there for 6 months. I kind of had the inkling of like, 6 months to a year, like let's be open-minded and see, because shit's really bad back home and you know we don't know. So that was the whole thing for us. We went there with a date in mind. We did not sell our home, sell all of our belongings, sell our car. We did not like evacuate, you know. No,
I understand. You didn't do what we did.
Exactly. You did and I didn't. So again, that 1 foot here, 1 foot there was really prevalent for us. Because here I am in the Dominican experiencing the life of freedom, you know, and I go like this because freedom can only, like, it's like, let's be realistic, freedom is.
Yeah, and it depends. I think it's a, I don't want to say, I hate, it's a, like a loaded word almost because it means a different thing to many people.
That's it. That's why I like to go like this, because it's like what you take as freedom, you know? So in terms of, you know, going out to eat, being able to shop, like seeing your friends, like your human rights, like the day-to-day normal life that you had here, you know, like a lot of, from what I heard and experienced in meeting new people in the DR, like a lot of people left Canada because of what's going on here. It wasn't just to go live in a tropical island and like experience something new. No, people fled like refugees. They fled for their lives. They fled for their livelihood. They fled for their children. It wasn't like, you know, like for a lot of people, I don't think it was a decision that was coming from like, oh, this is really exciting and adventurous. Let's do this. It was more like, we need to get the fuck out, like now. Yeah.
Well, we left in the spring of last year, and we really did leave on that sense of we're going to try something new. Yeah. And that was before I think a lot of restrictions had been in place, so we didn't experience a lot of that. So you did arrive in the late fall or mid-fall last year. So what were some of the, you know, your, I guess, highlights? What are some of the things that make you smile when you think about them and you think, you know, yeah, I'm glad that we did it because of?
Yeah. So like I mentioned a couple times now, we live in the country and we live right across the street from beach. And so last summer, I remember taking my kids to the lake every day and just being there and telling them, I'm going to take you to a real beach one day. I'm going to take you, mommy's going to take you to the ocean. You're going to experience you know, the ocean and its beauty. And so that was a huge highlight for me, just being able, like, I'm going to cry. Really great. Yeah, because it's just like I said I was going to do it and I did it. And so that makes me feel really emotional and self-empowered because even if my story isn't that I fled Canada and started living abroad somewhere new just because, I still had this experience, and it's still so beautiful that I was able to show my kids things that, quite frankly, I was very sheltered from growing up, you know, like I grew up living in Florida every single Christmas. Like we had a condo in Florida, and that was my experience as a kid, but it was very affluent, and we only went to the best of the best, you know, like we only shopped at the best of the best. Like we didn't do like, you know, it was just very spoiled. So
and would you say that, you know, I meet different people who say, oh, you know, they call this a third world country. In my opinion, it's a development. It's a country that's developing.
I cringe at third world. I'm just like,
were you surprised at some of the things that you had access to, or you're like, oh, that happens here, you know?
Definitely. And I just wanted to like finish up with where I was going with that affluence versus non-affluent was like, I had the opportunity to expose my children to real life, to things that are going on. They're not going to be nearly as sheltered as me. And I'm breaking that generational pattern, like so many generational patterns as a mom, by really like living differently than how I was brought up. And so that was really important to me also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that's part of it, right? Is giving, like, we wanted to give our daughter something different. We wanted her experience. I mean, we had a nice home in Montreal. She played with her friends and she had all the things, but now we thought this is a nice opportunity for her to meet other kids from other countries, make new friends, and learn at a different type of school. And I feel like as a parent, that's part of my job, right? Is to provide these other experiences. So good on us.
Yeah, good on us. So the things that I was surprised about, there was two things that really stuck out to me that were really pleasant, like God sent, like universe has my back kind of signs. One was the availability or the access to natural products. Like I really was not expecting that to be a thing. And it was so good for me because I live a very natural lifestyle. I was going to go crunchy, but no, like forget that. I live a very natural lifestyle, and really like has stopped, like before we left for the Dominican, I had stopped buying toys made out of plastic for my kids. You know, we have like reusable water bottles, reusable shopping bags. Like we're very into the, you know, the environment and caring for the world around us and things like that. So it was definitely a culture shock to go to the Dominican, and there's nothing, like almost nothing like that there. Like reusable shopping bags, like it took some time for the grocery baggers at the stores, the guys that work there, to like get it. Like I'm not using your plastic bags. Like hold on a minute, let me give you my bags, and like, you know, how to pack it. And like it would, like there were some times, like I'll never forget, like going to Jumbo, like the baggers would get like really mad that I had these bags and like how inconvenient, and like I just know how to bag in these bags type of like vibe, you know? Like they got annoyed that I was like, oh, can you hold on? Oh, por favor, this one. You know, oh, my fruits and vegetables go in this one. Like, hold on a second. Let's not just jam everything in the bag, you know? So there's some vibes there.
Yeah, so we have a few people that have joined us. So if you are jumping on, please say hi to Jordanna. Please say hi to me. Jordanna and I met in the Dominican Republic this year, and what a joy it was. And I wanted her to share her experience of what it was like being here. My experience as a relocation concierge, helping people make that transition with Louise. If you have any questions for us, make sure you add them in the comments so we can answer them now or even later on when it goes on replay. So you arrived, it's kind of a two thing, right? The joy of finding the natural products, finding the fresh like fruit off the side of the road. That was like, this is my favorite thing doing here. Is like, now that we've moved, like I walk across the street and I can, you know, pick one pineapple and 4 bananas, and I don't need it like a plastic bag. But in the same breath, the environment here is not a priority for the people.
Yeah, definitely. So that was something that I'll never forget. Like the first month I was there, my husband was like, okay, are you going to stop complaining about this? Because it's really a lot. And I was like, listen, I'm processing and I'm getting used to things, okay? I'm like, it's not a complaint. It's just like an observation. And he said to me, well, maybe that's something you can like self-observe instead of continuously telling us, you know, because I had a really big problem driving through Cabarete with all the exhaust fumes and the motorbike fumes. Like that was really, really intense for the first while. And then after he was like, okay, you know, like, are you going to be okay? Like, is this going to be a problem, babe? I was like, okay, well, here's a solution. Windows down on the way to town. When you're in town, windows up. When you leave town, windows down. But then it got to a point where, honestly, I just got used to it. I stopped smelling the intensity of the fumes. And yeah, I stopped commenting of like, oh my God, there's so much garbage here. Oh my God, look at all the things. Like, it was hurtful on my soul. Like my soul was just like this poor, beautiful island that is so fresh with, like you were saying, like fruits and vegetables everywhere and an incredible vast wildlife. And here we are, like in garbage is everywhere and the fumes are crazy. Caveat to this is come home to Canada and I've never seen more chemtrails at once in my life. Every single day, there's at least 4 airplanes releasing chemicals in the sky. And I live in a country. Like, that's
interesting.
Yeah, it was never like that before. So obviously something happened within the last 6 months for them to really like, you know, I guess with spring and things growing, like they think like, oh, perfect opportunity to like, you know, put these chemicals in the air. So, you know, that's it. It's like the grass isn't really greener in some degrees. When it comes to all things Voldemort, thou who shall not be named, yes, there's a very big difference. But when it comes to other things, like
so you mentioned before you and your best friend Annie have a company, Mother's Mary. So a plus for you guys to have come down here. You came down together, which I think is wonderful because I miss my BFF. But I think that one thing that is coming up for me and the questions that I'm seeing occasionally is like, can I work here?
Yeah.
You can work here, but it helps if you have a business to bring with you, wouldn't you say?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't someone, like I said before, I wasn't someone who liquidated my assets and only came with a certain amount of money. That was not my story, but I can't even imagine what it would be like for a family who does that. Like that's stressful. Like you only have a certain amount of money that's going to last a certain amount of time. And it's not cheap to live in the Dominican Republic. Like it was not cheap to live in Cabarete. Let me say it more specifically. It was not cheap to live where we were. It was just not. Like, sorry, like unless you're making thousands and thousands of dollars a month, then yeah, that's cheap. But if you're not and you're, you know, a regular income family, that if you have like 4 or 5 grand coming in every month, you know, like that's going to be tight for
and I think that's part of the conversations that are happening and that I'm having with people is people are sharing those experiences. And I did a live stream yesterday where I shared a little bit about our accommodation journey, where we started off in this beautiful penthouse and then we moved over to a villa, which it was beautiful. And now we are in Cabarete. I think we've sort of found the juste milieu, you know, of it, and the pricing as well. It's still, I guess, I can't go on and start comparing to Canada because we haven't been there for a year. So we have to sort of think of, well, this is working for us. This price point works better for us. So we're going to make it work, you know. But it's an important thing to bring up is that it can be affordable to live here. It just depends what that is for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that that's really important to distinguish because it gives a very false hope and false reality to a lot of people who don't have online businesses. And if you're liquidating your assets and you're only going with 200 grand in your pocket and you're like, great, I'll buy a house because houses are cheap there. Where are houses cheap there? Like I was getting to buy a house for $90,000 and then I get there and a 2-bedroom is $175,000 US, which is closer to 230, and it's only a 2-bedroom, and I really need a 4-bedroom, and there's all the, you know, but again, it really depends on the area. If you're in Cabarete, if you're in these gated communities between Sosua and Cabarete, you're looking at like regular priced housing, like you are in Montreal. Like it's not that different, you know, maybe and cheaper, smidge.
And that's why I say you have to figure out like, what do you want? What do you need? And what is the budget that you want to spend? Because it's not the same for everybody. So that's a really important point. Do you feel like that, like if you would have been able to move somewhere else, like you would have tried like maybe another area or stuck to the,
before I answer that question, I realized that I kind of derailed us and I never answered the question about business.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's
Go ahead.
Else. So we have, I own an online business, and at the point of where my business is at right now, I'm not paying my bills. I'm not like, I don't buy groceries. Like that's still very much on my husband. And my husband has his 3 online businesses that he's currently working with, but we still, it is possible that we could have found, like if I were to entertain the idea of going back to the DR specifically, I absolutely 100% know where I wouldn't stay.
Okay.
What I wouldn't do again.
Yep.
You know, like that's what I know. Where we stayed, it was nice. It was on the ocean. I loved how close I was to the ocean. But I got scammed straight up, like for what we were paying. Like, and Annie and I have a very different opinion about this. Like if you have a conversation with her, she's not going to have the same view and opinion about where we stayed and how things went down, right? Like her experience is hers and mine is mine. Yeah. But we walked into an empty condo. Like it had a bed, it had a dresser, and it had a night table. That's it. You know, it had the coffee table, it had a couch, and it had the dining room table. The kitchen was empty. The bathrooms were empty. Like it wasn't furnished. There was barely any utensils, and we were paying $1,800 a month, which with the Canadian exchange came up to $2,400 a month. Yeah. So we had to furnish things. We had to make it comfortable. We had to, you know, didn't expect that. Didn't realize. And then water. You don't realize like you're adding $30 US weekly onto your grocery bill just to have drinkable water. You know, so those were some of the things that, so back to business, like if you have an online business and your reoccurring revenue is already paying your monthly bills and then some, you're perfect. If you're not there yet, it's possible if you're living in these touristy areas, you're going to struggle. Like, that's my reality. Might be yours too. Might not be. Who knows?
No, I mean, listen, we are living here. I started a second business, not on purpose. Like it just sort of organically happened.
I love that.
And I'm grateful for it. Like once I decided, yes, I'm going to do it. It's like the gates open. I don't know if you saw, but I hit 500 subscribers today on YouTube.
Yay! Congrats.
Yeah. So when I did decide that I did want to do this and I see families arriving and I hear stories like yours, it makes me a little sad because I'm like, you know, like that can be avoided. Yeah. But everybody has to have their own journey though.
Well, that's it. I'm like, don't be sad because for us, like, again, like I said, I did not come there with liquidated assets. I came there with a 6-month goal. So for me, I came, I saw, I conquered. I'm winning. Like I'm the queen of my castle right now. Like I have no regrets. Sure. I did everything the way I wanted to. Could I have stayed a little bit longer? Sure. But then like, what's the difference? You know, like if I stay an extra month or not, I was still only there temporarily. You know? So it's not a sad story at all.
No, not. I don't, and I'm not sad. I'm more like in that, you know, we could have found you something maybe with furniture. That's all I'm saying. So what are some of the things that sort of challenge you? Like you just said, you know, the furniture, the water. What are some of the things that you're like, really? Like, really?
Yeah. So for online, and as an online business owner, it was a bit challenging because the internet and the power go out quite frequently. So you could be on a call like this and then boom, you lose power. So it's an adaptation that has to take place, right? Like it's like, oh, living the island life. I'll be back when I'm back. You know? I had to start my lives like that, being like, so this call can cut out at any time. Like FYI, island life. You know?
Yeah, I know. I didn't preface the call with it, but I'm praying at where we are right now. We've done very well. It's gone out at night, the electricity, not much during the day. So
yeah.
So if we do disappear, everybody stay online. Jordanna will entertain you. I'll be back. So, okay, so the electricity is a challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also just being on like city water, we didn't have a well where we were, so the water would go out quite often and for hours and hours at a time. So it's those mundane things, like, you know, like when your electricity goes out, but you're just so used to walking in the room and turning on the light. It's the same thing. My kids come home from school and I can't wash them. I can't give them a shower. They can't brush their teeth before bed unless like we go get drinking water, and it's like a whole thing. And so the water and can't cook. And then unless you have your drinking water from your jug and you know, so things that I honestly really take for granted being here in Canada. Like I really take for granted how clean, and I use my bunny quotation ears because Canada just does a really good job at hiding the filth. Like they take everything and they put it in a landfill, but that landfill still ends up polluting our earth. So it's just a misconception of what clean and responsible and the garbage, like all of it. Like it's just like it's just like a dirty lie. In the Dominican, the garbage is straight up in your face. They really like that's where they're putting it. Like
it is what it is.
You know,
yeah. And when we arrived, our daughter was very shocked by it all because her school, they were on this, well, I say environmental kick of, you know, don't send wrappers to school, containers and all of that thing. Yeah. So she was like, Mommy, why is there so much garbage? And I really had no explanation for it. I did do an interview with a mom from the school who's been here for, 23 or 24 years. And she was saying that a lot of was learned and it was brought over from other countries so that, you know, they've just sort of adopted. I mean, I hate taking food home from the restaurant in those damn styrofoam.
Yeah, the styrofoam ones, yeah.
Horrible, horrible.
Yeah. I mean, apart from that, like the Dominican it's a beautiful country. The local people are really, really beautiful. I think I had more friction and charged energy more with expats than I ever did with locals. Now, like we're gonna get like controversial here, so bear with me while I walk through this.
I'm listening.
To the viewers too. I don't know if society refers to this as like reversed racism or if it's just like straight up racism, because I'm white, so I don't know if I'm allowed to experience straight up racism or if it's considered reversed because I'm white. There's like a whole grid on like racism. Anyways, that is very real as a white person. And I experienced that numerous times, whether it's because you're white or because you're in a touristy area, you get what the word is called gringoed. This means white. Like, this is not a misconception.
Yeah.
It's not a myth. White folks get gringoed, and this is what Dominicans call it, and local expats call it, like, oh, did you get gringoed? You know, like, this is a very real thing. So I experienced that on numerous occasions, and it really does open up. Like, I was already very awake to racism and how I have also been brought up as a racist. And how I had to work through accepting and understanding and walking away from a lot of beliefs that weren't mine, that I didn't agree with, that didn't resonate with me, and to really just become more culturally educated and, you know, really understand how deeply rooted racism on a scale as society is. Like, it's not about black, it's not about white, it's about everybody. It doesn't matter
for
what
sure.
your skin is or what culture you are. Like, there's racism, period. So,
yeah, and since we arrived, I learned a very important sentence, which is "Je vivo aquí," which means I live here. Yeah. So don't try your BS on me, right? Yeah. So that one I want to say works a lot because then the locals who are trying, you know, I mean, they're trying to make a living. I get it, but at the same, like, there's a happy medium. But you know, we live in a gated community now, and my husband says to me on our first week, "Where's the pass?" You know, because we have access to the beach, but there's security there. And I go, "What do you need a pass for?" And he goes, "Well, what if they don't let me back on the beach, back into the?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So for those of you who don't know, my husband's black. Never realized that he gets stopped because he looks local to an extent, and you know, they won't let our pass through is only for people that live here, that nobody else can get in.
Right. So what
So
also
I
what we're
was
saying
like,
is that a lot of white folk live where you are living. It's not a place where local Dominicans would live.
exactly, exactly. So I was like, oh, hadn't even thought of it. To me, he's just my guy, right? He's like, there's no.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and that's something to be mindful of. Like when you do come down, so find the balance between, yes, you're visiting or you're relocating. And I guess to that I would say, take the opportunity to get to know people if you're coming down here, especially the locals. Like, because like you said, they're probably one of the warmest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And helpful.
Yeah. I had like my car stopped in Sosua. We had gone for lunch and my car just would not start. And of course the universe has my back, obviously. There was like a random stranger who had pulled up right behind us. And Natalie, Natalie, popped her head out and was like, hey, can you help us for a sec? And it just turned out that the guy was a mechanic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that story. Yeah.
So, and he, like, it didn't matter if he had already scheduled things in his day. He was like, he prioritized me and my car and making sure I got home safe and making sure I was happy. He got on the phone with like the guy who's the mechanic that I rented my car from. And they were like, I was like, am I going to have to pay you? Like, how's this going to happen? And he only speaks Spanish and I basically don't speak any. And we translated through a phone and he got on the phone with my mechanic and it all worked out. And like, it took a few hours, I was like, Annie and I were just hanging out in Sosua, exploring and shopping and eating and whatever, but it was a complete stranger. Like, here's the skin off my back. Like, you're in a rut, let me help you. And that was, it was beautiful. And the doctor too, Dr. Nario, for people who are Dominican, like, I highly recommend this man. Like, he'll go to your house, he'll answer you via text. Like, I'll never forget, it was Semana Santa, for the Friday of Semana Santa, and I texted him at like 9:30 at night, and I was like, I'm so sorry to bother you, I really wouldn't unless it was an emergency, like, here's what I'm going through, help, like, what should I do? And he texted me for over an hour, told me like what it was, what to get, what to do. And then I had a friend who like was living right by the pharmacy. She's like, let me go and like help you and I'll pick up all the medications you need. And like, just for everyone, like, I'm super natural. So for me, I was like, I don't want to get pharmaceuticals. Like, what do you mean? But I was like finila with like, I had impetigo and it was just like, I was done. I was done with the pain. I was done with what was going on. So I resulted to.
Sometimes it's okay to bend a little bit.
Well, it's more than okay. And honestly, being in the Dominican, again, like, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is how grateful I am for pharmaceuticals, because I have been very anti-pharma because of my own personal experience and almost dying from the medical system and being treated very, very poorly in Canada, in Québec, like a highly developed country where they like really like, rave on like how their medical system here works. Meanwhile, I'm paying for the medical system to literally almost kill me and almost kill my dad and all my family members that have ever ended up in the hospital at a certain age. Like, they all died in the hospital. They weren't saved. They were killed, so I have trauma when it comes to pharma and the medical system. So it was really, really nice to go to the Dominican and experience a complete like 180 on the system there, like dentistry. Yo, if I have to do my teeth, I'm going to the Dominican. It'll cost me less money to book a flight, stay in the Dominican, get the work done, and fly back to Canada than if I were to go and get dentistry done here.
So yesterday, I'll share a funny story quickly. So I take naproxen once a month to relieve a little bit of, pain. And I ran out yesterday, so I just walked over to the pharmacia, right, like literally outside my door. And I showed the girl the picture. She's like, oh yeah. And she brings the box over and she says, how many boxes do you want? And I said, well, how much is a box? And she goes, 585 pesos, which is about what, $11.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I guess I don't really need 36, Natalie, today. I need like, a handful. And in the box, there were 9 pills. 9. And I said, well, can I just buy these? And she's like, uh-huh. I said, okay. And I've been here over a year and I still get a little like floored. Like, really?
Yeah.
And I go, how much is that going to be? And are you ready? Is everybody listening? 150 pesos.
Yeah.
Now, naproxen, you can't buy that.
$3.
About $3. Yeah, thanks.
US. Yeah.
So in Canada, you have to ask for it. It's over the counter, and they put it in your file,
Yeah.
and they ask you why you're going to use it. And I'm like, I remember looking at the girl,
But
thinking,
hold on. I'm like, hold on, because I don't fully disagree with that. You know, I don't disagree with like making sure you're using it for the right things, that you're not overusing that. But even still, even if you're overusing, they don't care. They're making money. It's pharma. So they want you to overuse it. I think they just want to track what's coming in and what's going out more.
Well, so here I think what I love about is the simplicity of the medical, you know. So yes, there's access, but if I just helped a woman out. She's coming down in June, and she's like, I don't know if these things, I will be able to find them. So I walked over to the pharmacy, and they said, oh, yeah, we have that.
Great.
And she's like, I can just buy them? I said, yeah.
Yeah, ivermectin was so easy. You walk in, can I have some ivermectin, please? How much do you need? Boom, sold. They don't care.
Yeah. So there are pluses and minuses, and, I think that we've had our what the hell moments, I just blown away by the simplicity of things sometimes, like the going to the pharmacia, buying my fresh, stuff off the side of the road.
Yeah.
For me, the weather is a big one. I know it really impacts my mood. It really impacts how my outlook on things. So that, because we're not fans of the winter at all.
Yeah. Same. And that's another thing that I learned from skipping a winter was like, oh, I don't ever want to experience another winter ever again. Like never. I'm good. I'm great. I'm grand. Never again.
So yeah, I have a couple more questions. So moms and dads who might be listening might be wondering, like, wow, like we trekked our kids out with us. Do you feel like your kids benefited from the experience? Did they adapt well? Like, what was their,
good questions.
You can't speak for them, but you can speak for them, like, what did that look like for them?
Yeah, those are two really, really good questions. So leaving the country under the circumstances that we left, I was going to say we fled.
We left.
Funny, not so funny.
Yeah.
It was so much better than I had ever imagined.
Good.
It wasn't as stressful as I thought. My kids barely had to wear masks on the airplane. It really wasn't like nobody was there breathing down our necks, put on your mask. And that was like the biggest thing for me because I just don't mask my children and I have my beliefs about why not. And that's that. So yeah. And that was one of the biggest stressors, but traveling with them was really, it was wonderful. And it really gave me the travel bug. Like now I'm like, oh my God, we can do this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Where are we going next? Like we're already we're already planning like our next venture for the fall and winter of
nice
2022, 2023. And if that pans out, phenomenal. If not, who knows? Maybe I'll end up back in the DR. I just like really know where I won't be, and
absolutely. Well, that's what that's what experience is, right?
Yeah.
So
they love
people are watching us and they're wondering, like I would say, why not? But they're saying, how can I do this? Do you have a couple of really good nuggets like that you would recommend, things that they should be mindful for or think about when they do this? And let's define that. Relocation for me is something like what you did with your family. Maybe it's just 6 months, and maybe it's somebody that's wanting to do it for a little bit longer. What are your golden nuggets?
Well, I'm like, some people may really appreciate this and some may get really triggered. So I'm going to offer you, if you are being triggered by what I'm about to say, please let that be a beautiful opportunity for you to be like, oh, interesting. Maybe she has a point to this and like, this is something I should work on.
Yeah.
So I think when you're picking up and leaving the country that you were born and raised in, and you're very comfortable, even though the politics are not like where you're at with your beliefs and stuff. Are you okay? Did you just hit your head?
No.
Okay. Can you just go sit down? I'm almost done.
My head really hurts.
It really hurts. Okay. Well, I'll give you some essential oils, and you can just go drink a really big glass of cold water.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay. Cold water first. Okay. So yeah, I'm like essential oils. Like I will never give my kids Advil. Like I'll give my kids CBD before I give him an Advil. Anyway, for me, like a golden nugget is really like, I'm trying not to project here.
It's okay.
I think people could really benefit from being open to really working on themselves, like self-work, self-development, being more self-aware is really important when you're making that big of a change, because it's not just the relocation. Like your life, however you're living now, whatever your marriage is like now, however you're showing up as a mom now, that shit does not change just because there are palm trees outside your door. So if you're having marital issues, that's going to follow you to the new country. This idea of like, oh, better environment will really help my mental health. Like I buy it. I hear you. But I got depressed in the Dominican Republic. I got depressed. Like I haven't been depressed in over 2 years. I was pretty certain I had cured my own depressive episodes. And when that like hit me really hard in the face in February and March, like I was like, oh, so for me, environment doesn't really reflect my mental well-being. It's really my issues. It's really what's going on inside. So I could have snow, I could have palm trees, I could still be depressed. That's what I want. So for me, you really need to be open to understanding that, or not you really need to be, that's really aggressive language, excuse me. Let me take that back and let me rephrase. Everyone can benefit from just being open to my problems are going to follow me, but how am I going to handle them in a new environment? What am I willing to give up? What am I willing to, you know, work on to make it work here if it wasn't working so well here at home?
Yeah.
So self-work is really...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're the first person that offers that up.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Welcome to a Jordanna Live.
There you go. No, that's a great piece, because I think I've had a few conversations with people where, you know, not on the same page. And I don't think I could have done this if we were not on the same page. Yeah. We even got our daughter on the page because we asked her to take this journey with us. So, you know, it would be harder. And there's days that are easier than others, but at the end of the day, you have to all be in sync, because otherwise, that's the friction will be created or will be there. Any other nuggets?
I think mindset is really huge. Not just in the self-development, but financially. So if you're liquidating your assets wherever you are to move abroad, have the mindset of, if you know you're only going with set amounts of money, well, the universe is going to have your back for you to continue living where you're meant to live. But if you're stressing of like, I only have this much amount of money and I now need to like create a new business, like that's just more stress added when you have to reclimatize, when you're going through the culture shock, when you're living in a whole new world. Like you said at the very beginning of this video, like it's a developing country. So there's going to be so much, like here in Canada, like we are spoiled AF. Like, okay, maybe the roads in Quebec are not gorgeous, but the driving is a hell of a lot better. I appreciate a lot of laws in Canada that before I didn't appreciate. I really appreciate we have no drinking and driving laws. I appreciate that kids need to be in car seats. I appreciate that a motorcyclist needs gear and that infants are not allowed on motorcycles. Like there are certain things that after growing up here and experiencing different cultures, like I appreciate a somewhat developed authoritative climate, not one that's like, you need this or you can't work. You need this or you're not getting benefits. Like, no, that's extreme. But for just like little, like not little things, but things that really do make sense, that are logical, that are for the greater good, not medical choices, but more safety choices, I agree with. So I think mindset is a big thing. Like you really need to have the mindset of like, whatever I'm really comfortable with here in Canada, you need to be willing to let that go completely. Just let it go. You know, don't compare.
Well,
like,
and there's also a level of adaptability, right? If you're going to come to a new country, you have to sort of shift with what's going on in that new country, wherever that may be. It goes without saying that, yes, all those things that you listed and go down here, you know, they're kind of like the smack you on the forehead moments where you're like, oh my gosh, that's a newborn on a moto concho with the mom. And you think, did she just leave the hospital? Like, it's just not.
And the DR has the highest mortality rate from motor vehicle deaths. Like it's not. But then if you're in the know, you realize, well, the Dominican Republic only got a president 30 years ago. So it's not even really one full entire generation yet that has lived with any type of authority. So it makes a lot of sense, you know? And the other thing that's beautiful about the way that the country is being run right now, from my experience, is the cops, the police, like the police force, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Like here you get a ticket for jaywalking. There, they stop traffic for you and let you cross, and they will hug you and they will give you a kid. Like they are so sweet. And that's because it's a relatively new police force, right? Like it's maybe like the very first generation type of authority installment. So it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that we did this, because I wanted to do it before you left, but we ran out of time. Yeah. So we're all good now. We're all like up to date. So for those of you, what do you like? Tell everybody what you have going on right now, Mother's Mary. So if anybody wants to know more about what Jordanna and Annie are doing, you can connect with them there.
Thanks. Actually, speaking of mindset and how important it is, we have a mindset masterclass that is launching tomorrow, Friday the 13th. It's live at 8 p.m. and it's a $25 class. And we're really going to help you. I was going to say we're really going to help you, and that was very vague, but we really work more with like moms and women. So just like to put that out there, our market is really moms. We are focusing on really helping moms and women learn truly how to shift their mindset. So we're going to talk about inner dialogue. We're going to talk about patterns and habits, and we're going to talk about how to rewire your brain so that mindset shift really happens, right? So that inner negative dialogue, oh God, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I made the same mistake. I left the keys in the thing, and the beating yourself up. We're going to squash that. We're going to teach you how to squash that and really just thrive with your mindset. So that's going on tomorrow.
Cool.
And,
so make sure to visit the Mother's Mary's page here on Instagram, so you'll be able to find that link there. For those of you who are watching, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. If you have any questions about relocation, make sure that you send me a DM so I can answer that. You can book a free call with me to see where you're at in the process. And if this is something that's really meant for you, Jordanna, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it so much. I really love that you included me in your segment, because I definitely feel I offer a very different perspective from a lot of people, and I'm grateful that you gave me.
And you did, and you did, and I knew you would. So it's even better. So whatever you choose to do, everybody, have an incredible day, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Welcome to My World with Nat, Relocation Concierge. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.